to Damascus. And so Muawiyah sent him somebody who put him in a chain and imprisoned him until he died. And Hakam ibn Amr here is saying that al-hukm has to be bima anzal Allah. You know, I'm giving you an example in history. That bima anzal Allah, you cannot be a hakim, and because you are called Amir al-Mu'mineen, you divide the wealth in a different way from what Allah has said. So he followed that, and he died. It's not the first that Muawiyah killed of the companions, but that's a different story again. But here the groups or al-hukam are not separate from al-hukm, and al-ulama are not separate from al-ilm, and so forth. And therefore the maqasid and the mafahim and the fi'at here, objectives, concepts and groups, are very important in order to start to have a composite conception of reality. That you judge your reality. You are going to research a poverty, let's say, in one of the townships, like a couple of you did in your honors degrees. You are going to research that problem. You have to look at the objectives of your study. Like if there is an organization, let's say, that is doing some good work in one of the townships, you have to look at the objectives of that organization versus the objectives in Islam. What is it trying to do? Is it trying to achieve a good goal or achieving something wrong? And that good goal, is it a priority according to Islam, or is it less priority? We have a definition of awlawiyat, of priorities, in the maqasid, in the objectives in Islam. And we know that hifz al-deen, hifz al-nafs, hifz al-aql, hifz al-ird. We have to protect life before we protect wealth. So in order to protect somebody's wealth, you cannot kill somebody, because life is much more important than the wealth you're trying to protect. In order to protect dignity, you have to protect life first. So when you focus, you look at the objectives, you have to have your priorities straight. And life first before honor, and before wealth, and before mind, and so forth. Now, you link that to the concepts. You're trying to do development in that township. What do you mean by development? You have to look at the concepts very well. Is it a development from an Islamic perspective, or is it a development from a, let's say, capitalist perspective? Do they contradict? Yes, they do sometimes. Business contradicts with the common good sometimes. People do business that harms the community. And some people do business with social responsibility and that serves the community. So if you are going to talk about a business model, let's say, what is the social impact of the business model? Not every business is allowed in Islam. Not every buying and selling is allowed, because you could buy and sell something haram, or you could buy and sell something that causes harm to the community. You give them a kind of food and whatever, and it causes everybody certain sickness, let's say, because you are not following certain standards, etc. Now, you look at the groups that are dealing with it, the volunteers, the workers, the imams, if you are dealing with the mosques, let's say, in a certain area, the imams, this is a group, and that group has particular descriptions from an Islamic point of view, so that it's not just a job, it's also a role, it's a responsibility. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. The Prophet ﷺ said, every one of you is responsible. So if you are going to talk about leadership, as a number of you do in your thesis, these leaderships have to have certain responsibilities and have to have certain roles in the community and so forth. Now, here is another aspect of this composite perception, and let's perhaps move to different. They are both discussed in lectures 4 and 5. I'll skip some of the technical details. There's a lot of Arabic language here in terms of maqasid. We'll go back to that. Now, in terms of السنن, let me get here. السنة الإلهية, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is.
Sorry, just isn't it Professor mentioned that the leaders have certain responsibilities. But isn't it that every person who has a position has responsibilities?
Exactly. Everybody is a leader, exactly. So the word leader is not just a political leader in Islam, the ra'i or the imam, or every Muslim is an imam, and every Muslim is a ra'i or a leader or a shepherd. Ra'i is a shepherd. And the Prophet ﷺ said that in the hadith, he said every man and every woman is a shepherd. According to whatever you have responsibility for. And that is comprehensive. That is different from sometimes some discourses where the shepherd or the ra'i or the ruler is just one person. But then everybody in a government and in a home and in a college and in a community and a masjid is actually a leader in their own right. And that leader has to think and have their own, if you wish, ijtihad. Ijtihad in the sense, not necessarily in the fatwa sense, if they're not qualified to give fatwa, but ijtihad in the application sense. Every Muslim has to do this ijtihad to see, is this water clean? Can I make wudu from it? That is, I don't have to go ask. I can do ijtihad for myself. Is this person poor? I can give charity to. No, he doesn't seem to be poor. I can give charity to somebody else. These kinds of ijtihad. We have sometimes problems is that we go and ask the sheikhs too much. And I'm sure you see that too. People ask that, a guy called me once from Riyadh. And he told me that he wants to pray in the masjid, and he had a fight with his wife because there are two masjids. One of them, it's after the bridge in Dorada, and the other one is further away. But then if he takes the car, then so what does Islam say about this, ya Sheikh? I told him, I have never been to Riyadh. I don't know what you're talking about. And akhi, think for yourself. Well, my wife is fighting with me. Sit with her and communicate and reach a solution. Where do you want to pray? You call me from Canada, from Riyadh to Canada, to ask about which masjid you want to pray. I told him, we have a problem as an ummah that we rely too much on the mashayikh. We think that, the brother from Canada told me to pray here. I don't know. I get a lot of these questions, but this was one of the silliest examples that I got as somebody who gives fatwa to people.
The ulama knows everything. Ulama knows everything.
Knows everything, exactly. Should I eat this? Should I do that? Judge for yourself. So sometimes this leadership, we misunderstand it, and we ask too much. I told him, you can ask me if any that issue of dividing an inheritance, or like an issue of marriage and divorce, but about the fiqh of it, not you fight with your wife over some road. What is it? I don't know, right? So basically, we have to train the community to think for themselves and mind their own life based on the Islamic values. Everybody knows the haram and halal. Yes, some questions are technical. Yeah, you need sometimes an advice from a technical person, but most of life has nothing to do with the fuqaha and their background in fiqh. Why do you go and ask them about that? Just go on your life, and so forth. So you're right that the leadership is for everybody.
Sir?
Yes, please.
My since we're doing hukum, and you mentioned that we have this own discretion, right? There's a concept in the Quran, hikmah. Is it an assumption that we always translate that to mean the sunnah? Or is there some, because if we say that's a sunnah, we also define the sunnah as being an explanation of the Quran, so it could be two separate concepts. But is it not something extra that is within a Muslim that is maybe separate to the Quran and sunnah, that maybe that's self-guiding wisdom, or I don't know, what's your take on that definition?
Maybe I didn't cover this part, so I went back to it on this slide you have. Is that وَعَلَّمَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. They say hikmah as sunnah. No, every word in the Quran that is different from another word has a different meaning. There is no redundancy. There is no word that replaces a word. We don't have the concept of synonyms in the Arabic language. there is, you're right, hikmah from hakama yahkum, from being in control of something, or being in a balance. And hikmah has to do with balance, has to do with hakam al-jawad is to balance yourself on the horse by holding it tight. That's the original, like, kind of Arabic understanding. So hikmah is a balance. So when he says يعلمهم الكتابة والحكمة, you cannot say الحكمة هي السنة. No, the sunnah has a lot of hikmah, of course, but this is not the only part of al-hikmah. And the concepts in that sense are intersecting circles. The concept of al-hikmah is a wide concept, and the sunnah could be part of it, right? But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a concept like al-hikmah, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِلَّهِ. Part of this too is to link. We talked about the network or the web logic last time.